Good day, YouTubers. Thanks for joining me. This is video 38 in my series of videos on Ontario Northland models and HO scale. And what we're taking a look at today are Northlander Trainsets by both Marklin and ROCO. Now, I probably could have done a whole video specific to the Marklin train set, and it probably deserves it. But I just thought it would be a bit too underwhelming because I do not have any three-rail Marklin track. So we could not appreciate this unit in operation. So we'll take a look at it in comparison to the later ROCO models. But first, what really surprised me about this unit when I unwrapped it was how incredibly heavy the F7A unit is here. This shell is not plastic. It feels like a cast metal. And you take a look at the details and such that have been still captured in it, despite the fact that it's a cast metal, and they have done a really good job. This is a model of an F7A and not an FP7A, which is what the Ontario Northland actually used to repower the TEE train sets with in the early 80s. So yes, not completely accurate in length, but otherwise a pretty good looking model. The paint scheme is just beautiful and probably represents what made me fall in love with these train sets in the first place. So Marklin, this is their serial number 37500 series train set. There was an earlier release of the TEE train set with the older power car, as can be seen here by ROCO. I do not have that in my collection, and they appear extremely sought after. And they go for very high values on eBay. So I've been very content to date with 37500 here, that Marklin model, taking pride of place in my bookcase, and then running these Marklin TEE train sets. So what I should have shown you here when I had this unit up in front of you was the sprung central electrical pickup here for that three-rail operation. Not something that I'm really familiar with. This is the only Marklin model that I have. There is some wiring that needs to be connected between the locomotive and coaches. And then I assume that the style of coupler here is typical of Marklin, but again, I don't know the products that well, so am ignorant. Just to show you the other side of that mechanism here, this is in fact the last car of the train set, so that cab car. They again did a beautiful job with the shape and contour of the end of that car, and the paint scheme is beautiful. Even some interior detailing there. Northlander car C, as can be seen behind the doors there. So there is the receptacle for that electrical point of pickup, and then underneath the car you can see the style of mechanism here. Not a style of mechanism that I'm familiar with. The clip captures the pin on the other car. So once together, they really do stay together. And in fact, I would suggest they're quite challenging to separate once you're looking to separate them for one reason or another. So moving on to the ROCO train sets, though, which is what I had acquired first, and a beautiful running train set. You can see here in the background I've got the original ROCO packaging, a very large, beautiful box. The serial number on the side of that is 63125, which was the set equipped with sound. 63124 is the other serial number that was also available for this Northlander train set, and from what I understand, if I'm interpreting the marketing material correctly, that one was not equipped with sound. So before we start looking at the operation of this train set, I want to talk about the model in a little more detail and some earlier releases of it. So you can see here I've got another ROCO power car, but in the as per European use Trans-European Express paint scheme, the cream and burgundy. So just a beautiful looking unit, a beautiful paint scheme. So these are very heavy, very detailed power cars. You can see here they've got a sprung mechanism to provide contact between the diaphragm here while the train is moving. And that seems to actually function very well. The detailing on the nose of the locomotive is just awesome. You can see the TEE symbol there in detail. And if I get up really close, hopefully that'll come into focus. So this identifies the locomotive as under the operation of SBB, and it is road number 501. So comparing this to the Northlander unit here on the rails, you can see how when it was rebuilt prior to delivery to the Ontario Northland, they did modify the running lights on the front. They added classification lights above the number boards, and those number boards were added as well. Otherwise, the locomotive does appear largely as delivered. I won't pull that Northlander power cab a little closer to the camera, because once on the rails, you kind of want to keep these train sets put together. They are a bit of a pain to couple and to move around. I want to show you the mechanism as well as talking about a bit of the lighting. So I have pulled the shell of the car off of one of the burgundy and cream Trans-European Express cars here to show you some of the interior detailing. So this is the compartment car, and you can see there that they had a pair of lights there for every compartment within that. Now the reason I took the shell off was to try and understand why the lighting effect does not want to work on any of the cars that I have on either train set. So there's an anomaly somewhere that I haven't been able to figure out yet. All the wiring appears intact. All the contacts appear to be working. So I don't know if there are any ROCO specialists out there that maybe have a hint or tip for me, but if you do, that's great. But this gives us a good chance to talk about that mechanism for connection here. So you can see the bottom of this car. It's got a receiver style end. And this other end here is what includes that plastic point of contact. So it slips into that like receiver on the other car. Here is the cab car from the other end of the train in the burgundy and cream paint scheme as per European operation. And just once again, a beautiful looking train. You can see some of the detailed lettering there indicating the routing of this specific service. So now to the actual operation of the ROCO model here. This is a DCC unit. The sequence of everything is a little different than I'm used to dealing with for most North American models. So DCC entry 1 here fires up the locomotive prime movers. So a bit of a staged startup sequence there. That reflects these units having 2 prime movers, just like the North American built E8s. So it is, in my opinion, a real solid performer. It's got some nice, consistent movement at reasonably low speeds. And it also has a decent high-end speed to it as well, which I can't really illustrate to you given the limited size of my my track and my layout here. So what I wish to point out here as I back the locomotive, the entire train set, I guess, down the tracks, is take a look at the lighting effects on the cab here, and you'll see that that those running lights at the front have switched to red color to reflect reverse movement. And now I've changed it to forward movement, and everything has changed to white. And I'll change the train direction here in a moment to show you, but the power car at the back of the train has now changed to red. So I have flipped the entire train around now, so I am running it control car first. You can see what I was talking about there. Right now we've got red beacons on the rear end of that locomotive. Switching direction. The number boards and the lighting all changes to white. So it is unfortunate that my lighting effects within the cars all appear to not work correctly. And that'll have to be a project of mine over the next few months or years to try and figure out how I want to address that for use on my own model railway. So I've pulled my Northlander TEE train off of the tracks now, and I am coupling together my other train set, the one in the original Trans-European Express colors. And I'm not sure if those with more experience with ROCO products have any opinions, but I have found this to be a bit of a challenging process. This is a very snug point of connection, and to ensure that I'm not breaking anything, I have wanted to make sure that I'm grasping immediately behind these points of connection between the cars. So I've often found it easiest to do that with the train set on its side, and then to rotate it so it's upright, and then to place it on the tracks. So we've got the European unit on the tracks now, and to talk about the sound functions here in a little more detail. So F1 would do the startup sequence as illustrated earlier, but I'll skip that for the moment, and we'll talk about the two different signal horns, F2 and F3. So you've got a low blast and a high blast there. F4 turns on your lighting effect. In theory, it would turn it on to the whole train, but it only seems to want to light up the rear vestibule area of my cab car for some reason. F5 is your bell. F6 is shunting mode in regards to lighting effect and such. F7 would notch up your prime mover. F8 would notch it down. What we'll do now is fire up the prime mover, and we'll appreciate those. While it's firing up, F10 is your brake release. I think I skipped F9, is your reverser. F11, your ventilator. F12, starting your pressure compressor. And F13 and F14 are additional horn effects. So I'm pressing F7 now to notch it up. and F8 to notch it back down. That's F9 for your reverser, F10 for your brake release, F11 for your ventilator, that's your pressure compressor, F12, this is F13 and F14. They reflect just short blasts of those same horns from earlier. So firing this unit up here and giving it a little run. Starts out beautifully. I think this unit's a little more broken in and it runs a little more smoothly than the Northlander unit that I just showed you. A nice brake effect there, coming to a stop. What I wanted to illustrate now is the lighting effects at the front of the locomotive. You can see on that power car there as I transition from forward to reverse. As I've got the other car disconnected from the train set right now, it is not flipping back and forth to reflect directional mode. Its default is apparently headlights on. The other thing I thought I would finally talk about here is the obvious difference in scale between the Marklin and the ROCO unit, which I had not expected. So we've got the one end of these cars right now pretty much perpendicular to each other, and you can see how much shorter that Marklin car is as compared to the ROCO car. It appears that the ROCO model is to scale, while the Marklin model appears quite significantly undersized, at least reduced in length as compared to accurate dimensions for the railway cars. And here showing just in a little bit more detail the end treatments there, the differences between the Marklin and the ROCO units. And I think I will leave it there. These ROCO and Marklin train sets are all beautiful train sets. You can still find the ROCO ones in particular, it seems, on some hobby shops in Europe and online. I would encourage you to hunt them out, as they are a great addition to anyone who is modeling the interior Northland Railway. Thank you again, and have a good day.